The first two episodes of Dark Matter have some really nice ingredients that I love, but there's one major problem I have. I think for me, it needs to be a movie and not a show. I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. The IMDb synopsis for Dark Matter episodes 1 and 2 says, for the whole series, says, a man is abducted into an alternate version of his life. Amid the mind-bending landscape of lives he could have lived, he embarks on a harrowing journey to get back to his true family and save them from a most terrifying foe, himself. So what does this story basically feel like? It seems like a dark sci-fi drama version of It's a Wonderful Life. The first two episodes, anyway. I mean, that description maybe indicates that over the course of the season or series, he might go parallel reality hopping a bit rather than just focusing on two. I don't know. I guess we'll see if I continue watching. But while the protagonist is off seeing the sad life he could have chosen, a la It's a Wonderful Life, his evil twin is back home living his real life. And so scenes are cutting back and forth between the two realities, and the show treads a lot of ground that feels conceptually overly familiar to me. By halfway through the first episode, I started getting impatient for the plot points that I felt that I knew were coming. Jason 1 is considered crazy by everyone around him, but eventually gains one or more allies that believe his story and start helping him solve his problem. That's where things looked like they were going anyway. Meanwhile, Jason 2 is making everyone around him increasingly suspicious at his odd and evil behavior, culminating, I would guess at some point, in him truly lashing out with his full evil because his attempt at capturing a better life is self-sabotaged by the fact that he is evil. But the end of episode 2 does have a shocking beat that derailed my expectations for at least half of those suspicions. Even so, it took too long for that to happen for me, and the other half of the plot still seems to be on a pretty standard, predictable course. For those not familiar with these kinds of what-if, time travel, parallel reality stories, there's some good drama here, grounded in the kinds of relationships and what-if questions many people are familiar with as we look back, and I wonder if I would have chosen that path, what my life would look like, That's what really time travel is good for, even though time travel pretty much never makes sense. Likewise, the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum physics, quantum mechanics, which this story depends on, and basically other stories like this that mess around with parallel realities, I think usually depend on that. Well, the Copenhagen interpretation is certainly disputed, there's lots of stuff that doesn't make sense, but aside from the science that they just kind of skip over and shrug at and ignore that it's nonsense, it's good for these kinds of reflective what-if stories, and I think that's the best part. That's what makes kind of like these more like science fantasy stories than real hard science fiction. And so, exploring what might have been, that's a very interesting thing, but we've seen it a lot. I mean, even before multiverse stuff became popular, time travel stories were doing this all the time. That's the main thing time travel stories do, is play around with what if I had made this choice, So I'm feeling impatient with the advancement of this plot and fairly familiar use of the concept. I just want it to divert in major ways. Compare this with the lower budget and lower profile movie that came out a few years ago called Parallel. It's on Amazon Prime. You've probably never heard of it. And it's about a group of friends that creatively leverage parallel realities to make themselves rich and successful in their own world. It's not really about contemplating what if I would have done this with my life. They take that concept in a very different direction, and I highly recommend that movie. You can watch my review for it on the Christian Geek Central YouTube channel. Again, it's called Parallel, and that's a nice short movie, and which I kind of wish this was. Well, this doesn't need to be a short movie. It could be a 2.5 hour movie even, and I think still play better for me. We'll see in the long run if I stick with it. If they divert, they just took too long to divert. It's just trying my patience. As far as the cast goes, Joel Edgerton and Jennifer Connelly both give, for me, really engaging performances, along with the rest of the cast. I find myself really caring about these two main characters, and that's largely because of the performances. The surrounding cast, also strong, I think, although they get far less focus. If I continue watching the season, though, I hope Edgerton and Connelly are given more interesting situations to act in. Because I'm just kind of like, yep, okay, here's this emotional beat. This makes sense. This is what would happen. This is what the kind of thing that happens in all kinds of stories like this. Anyway, as far as the stunts and visuals go, there's really almost no stunts and maybe not a single visual effect that I can recall. It all maintains a very grounded feel without even showing us any kind of like sci-fi portals or other effects in the first two episodes to account for traversing realities, and I'm fine with this. I think it actually helps support the emotional grounding of the story and characters to not give us CG looking CG. So I really have no complaints about the visual approach of the show. Okay, themes. Is there anything of moral, philosophical, or spiritual significance going on in the themes of this thing that might trigger some worthwhile thought or conversation? Well, the main choice separating the two timelines is a focus on building a family or building a career. And that's a very common value question that we all kind of have in front of us at various times, almost all of us. Or if not building a family, then just building relationships versus building career aspirations and stuff. Clearly, the story leans toward building a family, building relationships, and treats that as the more worthwhile path. I don't think there's any question about that. But it also seemingly suggests that there isn't any good accomplished by wishing you could have made different life choices and dwelling so intensely on that. I don't think they're saying it's a problem to have regret, because we can experience regret and learn from regret and then make choices going forward in light of what we realized we maybe should have done in the past. So I don't think it's saying that there's a problem with that. But just really dwelling on the past instead of focusing on moving forward from where you're at. The evil Jason is not a good fit for the life that he rejected, because his own choices shaped his values and priorities, his very character over time as a result of those choices and the feedback loop they created on that defined the path that he went down. He can't function in a version of his life in which he prioritized family and friendships for years and years, because he doesn't have the experience of learning to do that one choice after another over many years, and having a heart then shaped by that kind of life and that kind of series of choices. It's not just the one choice that diverts the two timelines initially. There are so many choices after that that differentiate one path from the other, and he was not shaped by those series of choices, and so is just not compatible with the life he's trying to invade and steal. So I suspect maybe an underlying message, intended or not, likely unintended, I'll say right now. In addition, of course, to valuing relationships over career success, I think maybe there could be a theme of not wasting time trying to do your life over, or wasting time dwelling on the past and wishing that you could do life over, but instead to start making choices today that will increasingly move you in the direction of worthwhile things going forward. We'll see how the story plays out, and if I'm right that that's kind of maybe a secondary and a much more subtle theme, maybe even one that's not intended, but that would be a guess right now. Okay, I have no idea what your tastes are in TV shows, but if I were a time traveler, I'd go back in time and say, Peter, wait. Don't skip completely. Wait until the complete season is out, at least, maybe even the complete series. I mean, with so many TV shows being designed to be serialized, cancellation hits a lot harder these days. So I don't know if you want to invest in a show that you're not guaranteed is going to be able to tell its complete story. So maybe even wait till the whole show is done. Either way, at that point, start watching on a second screen just while playing video games until this show can prove to you that it's actually consistently doing some truly original things with its story. Until then, it's just going to leave you feeling impatient and suspecting it would make a better 2-hour movie than an ongoing TV show. This one's rated TVMA for violence and language. And those are all of my thoughts for now on Dark Matter, episodes 1 and 2. Right now, I'd like to take some time to write a tune for pre-made rhyme. The lyrics kind of never change, but the melody gets rearranged. I never know what I'll create to say how much I appreciate Dan Excel, Gabriel Stinson, Olin D. Branham, Winston Crutchfield, Lee Bray, Justin D. Myers, Joel Nelson, and Scroffosaurus. It's always tricky to get the meter to work out with all those usernames. Maybe if some other patrons jumped onto this tier, it would get a little bit more of a nice rhythm to it. We'll see. Thank you for supporting me and SBP and CGC. And now, to all who hear this tune, thank you as well. Please come back soon. Want to hear your name in song? Then check out our Check out our page on Patreon. All right, good gravy. I'd love to get your thoughts and reactions to my review, at least anyway, in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, click that bell to stay connected. I want to thank the Spirit Blade Insiders for making this review possible. You can get info about the benefits of joining over at patreon.com/Spirit Blade Productions. Then I hope you'll check out our podcast and stay connected to all CGC content over at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. For more chat about geek entertainment, answers to your questions, and news from the wider world of Christian geekery, get the Christian Geek Central podcast today on iTunes and other podcast services.